Very good afternoon to each one of you. Thanks for accepting our invitation to be part of this exclusive workshop on the impact of AI in HR. This is a very prominent and much sought topic of discussion in the present scenario. And I'm Roopa, Assistant Secretary General at BCIC. I welcome all the esteemed panelists here today and thank you very much, sirs, for accepting, madam also, for accepting our invitation to be part of this workshop. The session is organized under the aegis of joint aegis of the HR and 3I, Industry and Security Interface, and IT and Cybersecurity Expert Committees. And this also is one of the special event as we have just kickstarted the Golden Jubilee celebrations of the Chamber and this is part of the exclusive workshop. And now, we also have Saraswathi, who chairs the HR Expert Committee, who has joined online. And all the members, I welcome once again, who have joined online and who are there here as part of the workshop. And I would like to introduce Mr. Manas, who chairs the IT and Cybersecurity Expert Committee, co-chaired by Anjana, from, and also co-chaired by Mr. Deepu from ULA. And we have Chitra here, who is the co-chair of our HR Expert Committee. And we also have our senior members from the chamber who have joined online. And I once again thank you all. And before that, the chamber acknowledges the support of our annual sponsors who have been supporting the initiatives of the chamber. And if any of your company would like to be part of that sponsorship, please do let us know. We'd be happy to share the details. And now I request Anjana to take over from here. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Roopa. Thanks a lot. Yes, so it's absolutely wonderful to be with all of you this afternoon. As Roopa mentioned, this is an initiative under the aegis of HR and the IT Cybersecurity Committees of BCIC. Probably the first time that we've been able to venture into something like this. So quickly going into introducing the panel, and just for context setting, Ms. Saraswathi Kasturirangan, who is the chairperson and also is with Deloitte. She would be setting the context, and she brings an extensive leadership experience in shaping people-centric cultures across large, diverse organizations and high-impact HR environments, driving initiatives that strengthen workforce well-being and engagement. She plays a pivotal role in enhancing employee experience through innovative happiness frameworks, policy evolution, and organizational effectiveness models tailored for modern workplaces. We have our moderator, Mr. Manas Dasgupta, who is the chairman IT Cybersecurity and AI Expert Committee, BCIC and director, Code Forex and TechSans. He is leading the digital innovation initiatives that strengthen cybersecurity, AI capability building, and technology adoption across multiple sectors with a focus on future-ready workforce development. He works closely with the organizations to accelerate tech maturity, modernize processes, and enable resilient, agile, digitally enabled operational systems. He is with BCIC in the chair position and working along with BCIC towards building thought leadership in emerging technologies. Moving over, thank you, for joining us. Mr. Minnow Thomas is the Senior Director, Talent and Global Head, Talent Operations at Adobe. So warm welcome to you. And just a little bit about him. He oversees global talent operations, driving people transformation strategies that enhance capability, productivity, and leadership effectiveness across Adobe's global workforce. He advocates for the technology-led HR evolution, applying data, automation, and agile methodologies to shape modern talent lifecycle practices and employee empowerment. Welcome, Mr. Krishna Maladi. He is a partner, technology and transformation, Deloitte, India. He guides organizations through large-scale digital transformation, operating model redesign, and technology-driven value creation to meet evolving business and market demands. He specializes in enabling end-to-end transformation journeys, combining strategy, technology, and change management to deliver measurable organizational impact. Moving over, we have Ms. Mridul Singh. She heads HR with Kantar Analytics Practice India, Kantar. She is leading people strategy for analytics teams, aligning talent development, performance culture, and capability building to support Kantar's data-driven priorities. She drives HR interventions that promote inclusion, collaboration, and organizational agility, strengthening team effectiveness and employee engagement. We have Mr. Chaitanya Srinivas, in fact, we know him as Chinni. He is VP HR AP Region and Strategic Initiatives, Active Components India Private Limited. He oversees HR strategy across AP region, ensuring alignment between the business goals, talent priorities, and organizational transformation objectives. He focuses on leadership development, capability enhancement, and performance excellence, strengthening Active's talent pipeline and workforce readiness. Once again, welcoming all the esteemed panel members onto the stage and turning to Manas, take the discussion forward. I said, okay. Saraswathi, yes, Saraswathi, sorry. Saraswathi will be setting the context, followed by Manas.
Thank you so much. And it's I'm FOMO at its highest. I would have loved to be there, but something did come up. So sincere apologies for that. And I think the loss is rather mine. But great to have this wonderful panel there. And I'm sure we are going to be having a great conversation today. And of course, today's conversation, and I think Manas and I have deliberated on this. Thank you, Manas, for stepping in and leading this. I think this is a topic which is truly, truly important to everybody, but more so for the HR professionals. And I'm sure today's conversation, we would be focusing on how can AI significantly enhance the HR function in specific. And we've got a wonderful panel here to deliberate on that. I think the focus area should be on how do we really enable HR leaders to seamlessly adopt AI. And I know it is the word seamless is a little worrying there. Is it really possible? And I think that is the reason why we are having this conversation. And as HR professionals, truly it's important to identify what could be the high areas of impact from an HR perspective where AI can truly make a difference. Could be recruitment, performance management, learning and development, needless to state. All of these are high impact areas, but what have we seen organizations do and how can we help organizations adopt this more seamlessly is again something that we're going to be. And I was thinking about how we would be doing this and understanding what HR leaders need to understand. I think there would be a lot of areas where there would be a responsibility on the HR professionals to look at what kind of tasks and activities or efforts that today are part of our job design that would be amenable to AI. And these would possibly be identified as the low-hanging fruits. And then comes the next step. How do we automate this? What are these tasks? Removal of these tasks that would help augment what our people are doing today. And also in a way enhance or elevate, I would say, what our people are doing today because they do have a lot of bandwidth to do what in terms of the time and effort that was going into the regular tasks which are now being automated. So in a way, it can be looked at as something that would definitely enhance people experience as well. Next step, of course, would also be in sort of re-looking at or redesigning the jobs, I would say. And that's something which HR professionals would really need to put in a lot of effort. Which are the skills that have to be more valued? People skills, ethical judgment, creativity, negotiation. And I know there are tools coming out for negotiation as well. But how do we make these core human skills more valuable in this AI era? And how do we make sure that we ease the decision making for our people as AI removes all the the routine tasks, I would say. And by doing all of this, as HR professionals, I'm sure we don't want to lose our people centricity. That is what our business runs on, and that's something that's going to be staying with us. And one of the biggest questions I get when I go on stage on a conversation around this is, how do we minimize fear of change and fear of AI amongst our people? And I would believe obsessive communication, I don't know whether that is no amount of communication can be over communication in this case, in terms of keeping people at the center, getting them to be part of the journey, getting them to be part of the solution. I think these are some things that can go a long way, but we have wonderful experts here who are going to be talking about all of this. So thank you. Big shout out to all the panelists. And Chini, I know you were the first one to say yes. So a big shout out to you. I cannot imagine a conversation on AI and HR together without you. But thank you, panelists. It's going to be, I'm sure there's going to be a great conversation, and I'm going to be watching the recording. And over to you, Manas. Thank you all once again for joining.
Thank you so much, Saraswathi. It was, I think this is an age where so many things are changing, and we really need to be up, and running whenever, any kind of technology change happens, and HR is not spared as well completely at this moment in time. So without much ado, I will hand it over to Manas. So over to you, Manas.
All right, so we will have two parts of today's event. The first part is a panel discussion, and the second part is actually, the teacher in me always wants to teach. So in the latter part, after the panel discussion, 30 minutes of a little bit of introduction on what are AI agents, what they can do in the HR space, and maybe I'll try to spin up a little demo of, a simple agent as well. All right, a visual something. Okay, so AI, it's kind of becoming a phenomena, and it's really difficult to really define the phenomena. Is it real? Is it a hype? Is it actually beneficial? Is it actually Saraswathi mentioned a term FOMO. So she mentioned it in a different context, but then FOMO is also something that is catching up with organization with regard to adoption of AI, right? So we'll try to figure out some of them, if it is really a hype, or if there is really something concrete and beneficial that we can leverage out of AI, etc. With this four wonderful panelists that we have over here for the next 50-60 minutes. All right, so we'll without much ado, let's get on with the show, starting with Chinni. Welcome, Chinni. And before we get started, just one other thing. Big shout out to all the members from the IT and Cybersecurity and AI Committee, as well as the HR Committee, because this is one fantastic example of two expert committee collaboration, right? So we don't see this happening very often. And these are wonderful examples that we are also setting these two committees coming together, joining hands. All right, so Chinni, coming back. So we spoke about AI being in a possibility of actually being a hype or being a reality. So what do you think it is really from the perspective of HR? Is it really a hype or is it there is something concrete that we can leverage out of that?
So I'm not an IT person, so let me start there. So I need to understand things in a very simple way. There is a lot of hype because yesterday I was trying to buy a washing machine and it said it came with AI. I'm thinking, why do I need AI in a washing machine? You just need an on button and an off button. But coming back to HR, I think I look at AI in probably 3 generations of efficiency that it's working today. The first level of AI was to bring disparate data together. Every company has a lot of data. Some of it is obvious, we see it. Some of it is not obvious because it's not in sight. It could be offline, it could be on another system, it could be in many places that we normally as HR or HR practitioners don't look at. So the first generation of AI was really to look at how can I bring disparate data together into one area where it can be worked on. The second level of AI was, okay, now I have all this data, how can I run some algorithms on it? How can I do some models on it? How can I then start testing some hypotheses on it? How can I deliver some dashboards on it, etc.? And then the next level of maturity was actually, how can I, now that I have all this data, I have these algorithms running, how can I do something predictive? Can I say, based on the past, can I predict the future? And to me, those are just simple steps of evolution, of maturity, of AI, and that's where I think it's moving. And we can't predict the prediction, but what's next? If you look at hype versus reality, really you have to solve a business problem or a HR problem. If you're not doing that, it's a hype. If you have to start with the problem, you can't start with AI and say, I'm going to go do AI. It has to be a business problem that you're looking for, and then say, how do I solve it? Saraswathi mentioned something about simple reduced processes or repetitive processes, etc. I think I actually go beyond that. I said, first, if it's repetitive, why are you doing it? Not about AI. Why do it? Reduce the process itself. But then when you bring in things like this, again, you ask me, where is it reality? So if you look at the first generation, disparate data coming together, HR queries, if you look at it, still very simple. Today, if you asked an entry-level HR person a complex question, you'd be like, wait a second, I got to go ask the senior. They don't have the... And how did this come together? Because it was experience, it was tenure, they went around, they've been in the company for a long time, they've seen the laws change. Okay, that's how we became a senior HR professional. But what AI is helping somebody who's just come in is to get all that data together. So now you can answer questions faster, you can have a better hit, you can give a more knowledgeable answer. So that went from hype to reality. Said, okay, now I'm solving a business problem of HR queries. And as the maturity increased, I think within HR, we started seeing better used cases. Again, you're solving a business problem, whether in recruiting, you're saying, can I source better candidates? Can I, in learning, you started saying, hey, can I get a better hit on learning? Because there's so much of courses, data out there in the market. What should I learn? This is my job. Where should I go look for things? Again, it's bringing all that disparate data together. And then if you look at the third generation, what can HR use? Can I use some predictions? Can I say, hey, who's going to quit? If I know ahead of time who's going to quit and why, can I go talk to them? So just like how AI is kind of maturing, from the HR side, we are also maturing on how to use AI to do different things. And from simple queries all the way to predictive analytics, which is helping a HR professional to say, okay, I need to take some decisions. And I think the key here is, I want to leave everybody, AI is not a decision maker. It is helping either HR or the business bringing forth data in a predictable way to help us make decisions. So there's a lot of hype that says, oh, AI is replacing jobs. It is not replacing jobs. It's helping us make decisions faster. That may replace jobs because I don't need that many people now, because I can make more decisions faster. Otherwise, just think about it. If you took 40 minutes to go find data, another 25 minutes to put it together, and then another hour to think about it, and then make a decision, you can do all of that now in a minute because it brings all of that together. So it's increasing efficiency, it's increasing productivity from a HR perspective, and that is what is allowing us to do different things. So HR is now doing more strategic things, and they're not done away with repetitive stuff. They're doing it faster, or it's in self-service. Because now that's the next level. Why come to HR if I can view the data? So managers are now able to take some decisions which previously they had to go consult somebody. So it's actually going in, that circle is expanding, the circle of influence of decision making. It's not making decisions. I want to come back. It's helping us make decisions faster, more efficient, etc. Yeah. So let me pause there. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I like that part at the beginning when you said that it is a hype till you use it to solve a business problem. I mean, till that point, it is definitely a hype for us as individuals as well as entire organizations. All right, so with Mridul, we come to you next. So HR is at the center of the workforce. You are the way you approach your job has to be human-centered. So if you apply AI to your job, it has to be human-centered AI. At the same time, let's say, for instance, Mino, you're from the operational world, and you would look for efficiency, right? Efficiency gain using technology and now with AI. So what's the strongest business case for human-centered AI in HR, and where can it outperform purely efficiency-driven automation?
Yeah, so just on the same piece and the same thread that we are following, like what Ginny said, the number of used cases, which means that if we are asking same kind of problems in feeding in the LLM, it is of course giving us a better output because of the predictability that has increased. And that has, in my view, in past, I think 1 year, that's where the speed and the scale has really enhanced, is largely around 2-3 things. One is around performance conversations as to how do you do it now, rather than spending time in feeding in and writing in. I think the use cases that if there is input that already is there, and if the output is there, which is in a much more constructive manner, the manager and the employee is now focusing more on concrete conversations in terms of how to build the next step or a career, rather than being busy with only collating data, finding data, and putting it together. So I think one of the used cases and one of the pieces that are human-centered is the refinement and finement of how you are doing the career conversations or performance conversations. That I think has changed in last 6, 8, 1 year. The more we become inclined and use the AI or more data which is there, because it's going to build efficiency and quality of output that we have. And that's what I think the objective is. The second piece I think is around what Jenny also said, is on HR services. The query resolution has become much more quicker. Speed is there, but speed will not have a value if it is not guided and controlled by a human intervention. And therefore, if there is a speed in ticket, so there's a lot of ticket getting raised on, I think, of course, in Kantar as well in other organizations, that there's a query, you raise a ticket, and the ticket has a turnaround of 24 or 48 hours and you close it. So some tickets can be very quick because it's very simple. I need a letter. I need a transfer letter. I need my query on my salary breakup or whatever. Those are simple query resolutions. But if it's a complex piece around that, I have a situation and I'm just thinking it aloud right now, and I need to get a transfer to different office, different locations, and I have a personal problem. Now, there will be a system which will be fed that, okay, this is what you can do to follow a step. But where it doesn't know how to go or go about, then it will be directed towards maybe whoever is the HR partner or business partner for that unit. Now, the time for the business partner has significantly reduced and is only tackling and talking on the questions, which I feel is filtered down from the query. So that ways, HR services has become much more human-centered, much more defined, and again, the quality of time that one business partner or the HR resource can give to the employee there will be more, I would say, more quality-driven than just saying that, why don't you escalate? And the third that I feel is around within the global space of a bigger organization, there will be a lot of opportunities, internal opportunities, career opportunities, training, like what Ginny also said, is that it is easier now with so much data coming together at one place for us to now map it to the right skill. So if somebody comes to me by saying, I am in this team and I want to grow and I saw some opportunity within this region or that region. For me, there is one way that I will, of course, speak to the manager. That's the first thing that I'll do. But the second thing is for me to get his track history about what he's done, where all he's moved, what is the potential in terms of opportunities within the whole landscape, it will be easier for me to get the data quickly, for me to make a uniform decision about that one employee, and then maybe speak with the manager or to the person who's come to me. So I would say, if you say, where do I see the most use cases so far, where it is helping and enabling us to give a better output, is around these three larger facets: performance, conversation, HR services, and also mobility and career progression. How you do it.
Absolutely. And from the response from Chinni as well as Mridul, I think we are kind of getting into a point of understanding that AI is not really a solution for all our challenges and all our functions. It's really your buddy for execution,
Absolutely.
enabler of decision making.
Yeah.
You are still in control. We are still in control, where the grunt work is picked up by AI. The execution is done by AI. A lot of execution that was being done manually can now be outsourced to AI. So it's really an enabler. It's not a replacement of any human function.
Correct.
So, Bino, coming to yourself, and I guess from your role in running a large HR operations, AI and technology in general would be one of your go-to things to bring in efficiency every time, and that's your continual process as well. So, if you have to create a 90-day plan and pick up some early use cases from, let's say, recruitment, performance, L&D, engagement, what would you be prioritizing?
It sounds like my boss. I do operations, but I also do the other part of talent acquiring and mobility and looking at how they move. I've often seen that we look at AI like a very confident intern. Lack of another metaphor. Either we write that person off, or we take everything the person says. And that's what you generally do with an intern. Like, you're like very confident, whatever this person says should be true, right? Or we say doesn't cut ice. I to do something for 90 days that would create an impact for an organization. That would be not in terms of any function, but a horizontal that cuts through all these functions, which largely is AI. And not about getting our people to know how to use AI, as in like leveraging AI, but to know the guardrails of AI, right? And the reason why I say that is because, see, I've always seen Indian coders are very smart. I don't know how many of you follow Hindi, but AI ke pehle, people used to go to Google and write, give me a proper modular code that I can rectify and chipify in my basic programming that I'm writing. So it wasn't that, right? It wasn't that they were really writing codes. They were going to Google and they got verified codes, right? The codes you got way back then were verified codes, which would never fail. The problem with Gen AI is it also adds a little masala to it. It says, why don't I tinker with it a little bit and give you a little modified code, right? Which you can go and test. I've seen many case studies in GitHub. I don't know how many of you know GitHub, but GitHub is where basically you go in, right? I've seen many case studies in GitHub where a person has taken a code, landed it into production, and ultimately customer data was shown open, exposed, right? I mean, look at the fiduciary risk and the revenue risk for an enterprise, right? I've seen teams within HR try and invent and reinvent on AI in a way that you have created great amount of, as it relates to bias, as it relates to decision making, and even in predictive. Actually, a very important aspect of data. But hamara data theek nahi hai. I mean, you got to understand, data is as good as the one who feeds the data or the behavior of the one who feeds the data. right? In operations as well, if a resume had to move from point A to point B at a particular day, and it does not move on that day but moves later, my data is as good as not useful. And if I were to put up a system on it to really make sense out of the data, will I get any data to work on? No, right? So for the 90 days, I would create, and I think the most impact is if we go back to our organizations and say, here's a 90-day program where I would teach you how to challenge AI, how to trust AI, and how to use it. At least for the first 45, 50 days. And the next 30, 40 days, give them scenarios where you're doing basic, you can do whatever you want to do, sandboxing, etc., but give them scenarios and see how they use it. And then from there, create champions of AI, who then become your ambassadors who carry that torch for you and relay to the whole organization in terms of how do you use AI. Using AI is never a problem. I work a lot with academia. I mean, those kids really know how to dabble it, right? They are using AI for everything and anything. But the moment they come into a very restricted environment where the fiduciary risk is high or a client risk is high, you can't be so inventive. But at the same time, you don't want to tip the wings.
Yeah.
And you got to do it in a way that you're culturally doing it. And that's why I think if organizations spent the first 90 days, it would be great, right? And do it in a way that the change is managed well, right? And then see how your organization truly becomes change champions and AI champions. Don't spend your time teaching them how to use AI. As in go, this is where you should go to GitHub. This is where you can use Copilot. This is what you can do with ChatGPT. This is what you can do with Grok, etc. Don't do it. They know it. I mean, those training meetings are a check in the box for them. But spend your time writing your AI first principles. Spend your time on first principle thinking, systems thinking around that, and see how do you change it. The other thing with AI that I want to connect and say is, in the US military, they have something called a code called 9000.3000.09. I don't know if you know about this, but that's called the human in the loop.
Yeah.
Right? It's the most advanced military system, but they have got human in the loop. So they say very clearly, I've got everything AI, but the decision to make is a human. Yeah. The most advanced AI system that's ever there. Right? Your search engine spent a lot of time on just their defense systems. Right? Your Google spending a lot of time on the defense system, but they are very clear. 3000.09, human in the loop. So our ability to also bring the human in the loop, but drop it right at that right time, like what Chini and Mridul said, not at the wrong time, where you really don't need that person, but where a decision is being acted upon, pull that string. And again, that goes back to that 90 days, which lays the ground telling you, kahan pe kya karna hai. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's basically the right perspective. I mean, we get over enthusiastic and we jump the gun, really. I mean, so to say. You are talking more like ACE from IT product development point of view and ACE product owner. If you are not, then cybersecurity is going to be an afterthought.
Absolutely.
Right? So you speak about the features and the technology first, and then at the end comes cybersecurity. So then Dipu here, if cybersecurity, I'm pretty sure is his first
waiting for the protocol to be followed reversed.
Yes, yes. No, I mean, see, couple of days back, I was talking to a prospective customer for a AI session, and then the CTO was sitting there, and he was livid because it was a manufacturing company, and somebody a few days back used a new plant layout on ChatGPT.
Oh.
And somebody else from HR fed payroll data to run some analysis on ChatGPT.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
these are use cases,
Absolutely. So what you're actually saying is that learn the guardrails first and then go ahead and kind of before
HR leaders, we need to spend time there.
Absolutely.
And we aren't. We are like, give me a use case on AI.
Yes. So absolutely. And the military example, you say that, I mean, I didn't know the code, but then the principle is that no kill decision should be taken by AI. That is the principle. I mean, our defense systems haven't gone to that level that kind of principle have to be applied, but US has gone to that level. But this is the principle that they follow, that no kill decision by AI, kill decisions by human. All right, coming to you, Krishna. So specific to recruitment. So if you have to kind of make automated end-to-end process workflows, recruitment has many process workflows. What part would you automate using AI or technology related to AI, and what part, where will you probably, I mean, I'll probably tweak the question a little bit, where will you probably bring in human in the loop?
I think probably a few riders before I answer this question. I've been recruiting people for my team. I'll not advise the world, but I'll talk about myself. And I think over the last 15 years, if I look at all the people I've hired for and how many people am I really satisfied with, probably it is 50%. Sometimes I go back and check, probably I should have just flipped a coin to I have not spent so much time talking to people, etc. So, but I'm both cautious as well as optimistic about using AI even in recruitment. I was just doing a call with one of the tech providers today in the morning about using AI. And they literally said that it's going to ask me a few questions and going to populate the job description, which will then go onto platforms and get posted there. So it's going to ask me questions. So it's going to ask me what skills are required, what do you think is the experience that's required, etc. And it's going to create a job description and it's going to post it on platforms. And then some sourcing person is going to shortlist the CVs, and then it's automatically going to do an interview, right? Problem that I see in this is that the guy who's making the CV is also using the AI. The guy who's wanting to create the job is also using AI. So it's literally like creating two machines and asking them to play with each other. And both of you are stepping away from it. And I'm a little scared about how to handle this, right? And that is the point of guardrails that I think you're talking about. I really don't know what I should allow for, right? It's very easy intuitively for me to think that the easiest thing that I can do is create the JD. The easiest thing that I should do is to create a CV. But then the moment I do the easiest two things, probably then I'm just leaving it to two machines, because there's a truth of CV which is not the individual, but it is generated by AI. The truth of the job description is not the individual, but it is generated by AI. Right? And when you constrain this over a period of time, and they say that you wait, it will get better over time. So I think you're evolving a secondary truth in the organization, which is away and away from the individual. It's going to get better at time. Now, I'm also proponent of this change, right? So in my day job, I go to my clients and tell why they should use AI, right? So I also believe that you can, no change is possible if you can't advocate it before what you see, right? So you have to believe more than what is visible, right? So I'm going to believe that this is going to get better. I'm going to believe that we can do more in this space. But I want to address your question by probably looking at recruitment from two standpoints. Where there is speed of recruitment that I can handle. Like, for example, I have to do an aptitude test. Right? I'm going to take calls on whether a person is fit for that job or not fit for that job. Where I'm going to, let's say, use certain tests to be able to arrive at scores, link that scores to various decisions, etc. I think where there is speed, I'm okay to kind of accelerate using AI. Where there is a quality of decision making, well, I'm still not so confident if I have to let AI take the call. And I always say, I do a lot of assessments as a part of my day-to-day job. And when I do a leadership assessment, when I do a managerial assessment, I'm a consultant who does the assessment. And then let's say I have the leader in the organization who's supposed to take the call. The decision is never taken over the verbatim of the assessment. It's always we step out of the room. Kya lag raha hai aapko? And decisions, according to me, are made through gossips of individuals who share their very lived experience through that gossip of what they've experienced. I don't know how AI is going to read gossip. I don't understand that, right? So every 2 sessions when I attend conferences like this, there are people who walk out for the coffee break and then discuss about kaisa the last session. बहुत boring था यार. You know, वो सब चीज वही same चीज बोला. That's the reality of the conversation. That's the assessment that you're making, right? It's probably not in the feedback form that you're collecting after the session. The AI is reading the feedback form.
Yeah.
It's not privy to that conversation between 2 meetings.
Correct.
But your decisions in organizations are made on those gossips that are happening within 2 meetings.
Yes.
I don't know, to this question, I don't know, I'm a believer of AI. I want to give access of this gossip to AI. How do we enable that to happen? Right? I want answers to these questions before I'm going to implant AI to take a recruitment decision. So I'm all willing to kind of do that 90-day thing where I want to honestly talk about these realities. And then say, how can we enable AI with this? Before judging whether that AI is good or bad.
Absolutely.
Before even investing money to say that I'm going to use it for recruitment decisions, I believe it can do better than what I can do. But I want to empower it in the right way for it to take decisions.
That's also first principle thinking.
That's first principles thinking, right? And I think that's where the starting for recruitment is. It's easy for me to say, let's make CVs. It's easy for me to say, let's do interviews automated. But I don't know if you do it the right way. And I don't know if I'm investing enough effort to make it the right way.
Absolutely. Yeah, just a number, 42% resumes in the India market right now are AI made.
AI generated.
And 60+ percentages of companies now use AI to do something called zero distance algorithm, which is basically it looks at a profile, it looks at a JD and says how far is the JD profile.
Yeah.
And if it's an AI written resume, it's absolutely a zero distance. But the person is 100 miles away.
Yeah.
Right? So what's happening now is we have moved to an expression where we say the most expensive thing for HR is relationship. Right.
Yes.
So how do you then spend your time on relationship? Back to that stone age of
Same. Starting from the
And understanding personalities.
The basics.
The interview is now going to become more important. The face to face.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I just want to add on to that point of interviews, right? So I think AI also sometimes, and I'm not a tech guy, so I have the freedom to make mistakes when I talk about AI, right? It also responds versus a context that is fed to it at the back end.
Correct.
Probably tech people understand this better, right? So I had a conversation with an individual saying, tell me a little bit about yourself, like, you know, and the person spoke for 4 or 5 minutes. And he actually talked about a life event saying he lost his parents at a very early age, right? And then he talked about his experiences, where he joined, what he did, etc. Now, as an interviewer, my reading of that individual is very different with that just one fact that is known to me. Because there is a lived experience, there is a hormone, there is a body, there is a biologic thing in me that reads that individual very differently. And I respond to that individual very differently. I don't know how AI is going to do that, right? And therefore, it's important for us to educate about the signals that we feed into it, what it can and what it cannot read beyond the point. I'll be corrected, it probably can read it, but I don't know
Yeah.
at this point of time.
So, I mean, my belief is that gradually we will get to
AGI.
a point. AGI is far way off. I mean, these are stepping stones towards AGI, but then we have to find ways of feeding these signals. I mean, first capturing those signals. I mean, capturing those signals is the first challenge. If we are able to meaningfully capture those signals, the facial expression, the emotion level, the what is being said, etc. So all those things through a capturing system and then feed that into AI. I mean, see, AI does the processing. Now, how you capture that emotion is what is going to be the challenge, the next level challenge.
Yeah.
All right. So, Chinni, coming back to you. Krishna has spoken about recruitment and even quality in recruitment and how do we feed in those signals that otherwise at this moment cannot be captured or processed through AI. Now, how do you prevent AI from optimizing for speed? Because we are actually right now at a stage where we are pretty much on execution and speed and etc., rather than the actual quality of the outputs. And we are probably happy that if our perfection level is at say 80%, because in India especially, we have a lot of CVs to process, a lot of candidates to process, etc. So how do you prevent AI from optimizing for speed at the cost of fit and diversity? And what are the metrics that you would use?
I think, look, this is very, very evolving, and there's no right or wrong answer here. There are a lot of used cases that have been successful, and then there are a lot of used cases that have not been successful. You gave an example, as well as you, Krishna, saying about, one thing we got to accept, there is inherent bias in the system, whether it's writing a JD or an interview or, there is an interviewer bias. There is a candidate bias, there is a people bias, and those are already there in the culture, in the way we live, and it's not specific to any region or country. It exists across, and it manifests itself in different forms and ways. What you are looking to do when you're recruiting is, again, looking at what's the best success rate I can get, and you can define that in a few ways. One is, the old way of definition of success was first 90 days, the person quits. So, we went and built systems around it and said, okay, if I hire somebody and they quit in 90 days, then it's a, bad hire or a wrong hire. Then you started saying, okay, 1 year later, what's their performance? Fit for the job. Then you said 2 years later, were they promoted? And then started saying, okay, was it a good hire, bad hire, right? So you had all these were the traditional ways that we would measure success of a hire. So again, it goes back to my first statement of what's the business problem we're trying to solve. Now we are in a war for talent, and that's the business problem. I need good people. I need them fast. I need them, in the company quickly. That's what management wants. That's what they're pushing HR. I've given you the requisition. How long will you take? And if you say 60 days, 90 days, they're like, can you do it in 15? So this is where a lot of these things are coming in from a HR practitioner's perspective. I know you gave the technology perspective of it, but from a practitioner's perspective, how do I source a candidate quickly? What are the skill sets that make a good fit for this job? You may have a JD. There could be adjacent skills that it's not in the JD, but maybe from experience, we know that it's a success. So I think that's where the compromise between, speed and fit, but also inclusivity comes in. You have to be specific on what you're trying to address. What kind of bias are you trying to address? Are you trying to address the speed of sourcing? You're going to give up something. You can't get everything. So for example, again, I go back to my simple way of understanding AI, disparate data. So if you go today and say, I want a candidate with these 3 attributes and these 3 skills, you may go to a portal, you may go to a Naukri, all of these, and you'll put the same thing, and they're using the same algorithms to pull up data. So again, it's going after disparate data and giving you some options that eventually you have to decide and say which one am I going to pick. But that inherent bias doesn't go away. And that's when predictability or predictive models come into play and say, okay, I can look at a large data set and say, this kind of a skill set for this job lasted, the success rate was so much. So that's another metric you can start looking at and say, okay, this could be a good fit. And again, all of these are based on data sets. If your data set is not right, you will get the wrong output. And how do you get good data sets? It improves over time. And like Krishna said, everyone says, oh, give it time, but you don't have time. You need the answer today. So I think it's evolving. I think there are many use cases that have worked well, where you're sourcing candidates, where you're looking at candidates who you would not have probably picked up otherwise, just from your inherent biases, or you didn't know to look. There are also use cases where statutory and government bodies have come back saying, hey, because of AI, you didn't look at that candidate. And there are cases right now in the legal world that are going through the courts. Certain technologies picked few candidates, didn't pick few candidates.
Yeah.
And they've gone back and said, hey, that's wrong. you should stop using that platform. So then it's evolving. So I think the use cases, again, you have to break it down to what you're trying to solve. If you're trying to solve scheduling, can I look at different calendars and schedules? Yes. Now, these are transactional aspects. They are not qualitative aspects. So repetitive tasks. Can I get an offer out quickly? Again, you need to do 20 things. Usually it was a piece of paper that went to 5 desks. Can I do that faster? So there are many successful use cases on that side, but not on the qualitative side. And that part is still evolving. And it's again, as new data sets come in, it gets stronger. New things come in, it's getting stronger. But certainly on the transaction side, there's tremendous successful studies to schedule faster, to offer faster, to generate letters faster, answer potential candidates' queries faster, get them onboarded in a better way, in a faster way. So those things have vastly improved. Qualitative is still finding its path here.
Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, essentially, I mean, at this point of time, without the mature data sets, I think we have to look at AI as an enabler to certain repetitive processes, functions, tasks, etc. So there's a huge scope for productivity improvement. But if we try to kind of say, like you said, take a goal of improving the higher quality of the organization, probably that is not going to be met with AI. All right, so Mridul, coming back to you, performance and people analytics. So let's say, for instance, there are going to be sensitive zones in terms of what kind of data that you would pull in or capture on in terms of people analytics. Let's say, for instance, in certain areas, demographic segmentation on certain attributes are going to be fairly sensitive. So what do you think are safe and unsafe zones or use cases for people analytics, or let's say, for instance, with the AI flavor, predictive analytics?
Yeah, so I think the important question that we all are asking ourselves in this environment is that what kind of culture or organization are we going to build with so much of AI taking over, and how much will we allow A? And if we are allowing, which we will have to, because that's how the speed and efficiency will build, what are the guardrails that we need to build in? And therefore, those are the first steps that we do. The HR and me will, of course, want to do things quickly, because that will help me save time, get speed, and of course, give my stakeholders and business a quicker response, saying this is what you need to do, this is what it is there. By the same point of time, I'm very conscious as an organization that there is data there that we are putting up. In terms of safe, I think, like we all said, that we agree that it is speed, it is building efficiency that we are trying to build in. And therefore, in terms of metrics that you want to see, you want to look at some workforce management, or take some decisions around hiring. What is the size? What is the productivity? How many people do you think? So all those data that we're putting in, it's still fine, because it is giving you speed, and it is making you take that decision. And therefore, you will be conscious of putting that data on your system, saying, okay, this is an internal piece, and you're trying to build up on that. At the same point of time, if they are client-driven data, right, which is there, and just an example that came to my mind when you asked, there was somebody as a contingent worker who we had hired to do a very, very niche kind of a technical requirement from a client, and we hired through somewhere, and that person was working on one of the client data. And at the same point of time, we were looking for another person with a similar kind of a skill set. And I just figured out that, I need to find the same skill set kind of a person. So there is this forum where I went, and I said, I need to, and there are people available, freelancing, and people available there. So I started chatting with somebody because I couldn't find that skill set through my recruiters or vendors were there. And I happened to start chatting with the person where I felt, wow, he knows it. He knows exactly what I need. And I said, do you do this kind of analysis? Do you have this kind of thing? He said, yeah, I do that. And I don't know who I was chatting with, but I was trying to interview and get, and the kind of requirement or the data that he was flashing it on the screen exactly showed me what I wanted in the sense. And then I said, it's too similar to the requirement that I have. How is it possible? Then when I connected the dot, it was one of our guys who was doing that. And I was, while I laughed over it, I was doing this to my head. I said, oh God, what will I do? Of course, I went to the business head and I said, this is what has happened. Now, this is an example which, of course, we could still control because those data we can immediately take control of. But imagine the severity of situation that one can get into of while saying that I do this and I can do this for you and this is what I can publish. So in terms of unsafe is, of course, the client-driven data which can be published. Second is biases, removing somebody saying that I want to hire if a female who's, a female driven kind of a thing, saying that somebody who's expecting or somebody who you think is under this age, I don't want to have those CVs. So if you get into those kind of biases, unsafe, because data is there, and you start collecting CVs or start collecting your hiring decisions basis those biases, those unsafe. Those are biases that we are creating. And therefore, I think few pieces around ethnicity, around inclusive,
Gender.
Gender. If we start taking this data and decisions basis, that those are the pieces we need to be really careful.
That's right. And inherently, our data sets are full of us, like you said.
Yeah.
A real story. A friend of mine joined a multinational bank, well-known multinational bank, and said that in one of their locations, one of the managers who was having a pretty large team had a particular inclination to hiring people only from his ethnicity.
Yeah.
Right. Now, as a recruitment team, you take that data and use that demographic attribute in making your hiring decisions or predicting your hiring decisions, which may influence your ultimate hiring decision. That's going to be disaster.
Absolutely.
Correct. Absolutely.
Right. So, Meenu, coming to you, performance management, another interesting point. Domain of deliberation as far as usage of AI in performance management, and a lot of companies are actually inclining towards there. Continuous performance management using the data that is available of people. So, how do you avoid the black box and ensure explainability and cleanliness in AI assistant evaluation? And you know that there's a lot of black box around AI.
Yeah. There's black box that exists even without AI. I think half of our people after a performance management walk back with clarity of the rating, but no clarity as to why he got that rating.
Absolutely.
So that's black
Big
box
problem.
And it's been there for
a long time. Right? So at Adobe, what we do is every quarter we have a check-in. We encourage conversations where you're like not tethered to a rating, but baat karo. Right? Understand. And then put in your goals. Make it as smart as possible. Make it OKR, whatever you want to make it types. I don't have a case study in recruitment, which I believe can be parallelly applied to performance. So we got to a point, and I'm giving a very Adobe example. We got to a point where we realized that the only way I can really ensure a good hire is by doing structured interview. Now, structured interviewing is 5 people interviewing 4 different things. Right? If I want to dial up on one particular aspect, there'll be multiple people dialing up on that same aspect. Very clearly what you're going to be doing. We work with an external vendor to help us create questions that are largely unbiased, culturally fit, and questions that can help us identify potential capability, culture fit, etc. So the whole body of work that we spent like around a year and a half to even get there. We knew AI is coming, but before AI comes, we need to have good data that sits on the AI.
Yeah.
Then we brought in a tool called, I don't know if you know something called Bright Hire. But what Bright Hire does is, it sits on with my interviewing. It looks at my questions and it looks at what is being asked by the interviewer and nudges the interviewer to ask or redirect it right. Now, it's like a good AI companion that is sitting with you, that is guiding you along your way in that 1 hour, 2 hours to ask pertinent questions, which will give you some empirical data. But half the time, our panelists will speak for half an hour for things which are not required, and then give the person 10 minutes to speak, which is right. So we aren't sure about what we are doing. So we brought two elements there. In performance management, if we get in tools that can assist the person to make those conversations right, it is about the how you do it, not about the what you do, right? But that really, in a very hyper contextualized way, like I'm looking at a way in which even for TD, can we get to a point where if my organization will say 100 people, at least 20 different personas of learning people. And we're going to get into agents, but creating an agent is not rocket science, right?
Yeah.
Right? Can we then help hyper customize learning journeys where people start to create learning agents for you? And then I'm like, you know what? I am your type. I think that agent can help me. Right? And create communities like that which start to tether together and do something. But even in performance, how do you help managers be better? But use AI, create communities that tether together and see how that really acts differently. The possibilities are very high, right? And hyper customization, like earlier, I used to think about this long tail of people. What excites her, what excites me, what excites you are different. But if AI could help me in that, it just makes my business problem so easy to solve, right? I can get you excited. I can get you involved. I can get you really committed to the task of doing a good performance management. So that is where we should really start to think about how do we really bring in something and do it. And the black box, like I said, always existed. But I think with AI, you have an opportunity to maybe diminish a little bit of the black box.
Yeah, correct. That's another side function if AI can be used more effectively in creating the explainability in decision making. So one, you use AI to make the decision, and second, you also create observability. I mean,
Correct.
Functional observability, not the technical observability, but the functional observability. Kind of also log as to how the decision is taken.
Yeah.
And you have a whole lot of this GDPR compliance.
Absolutely.
Which says
I'm more scared about DPDP in India than the GDPR.
Yeah.
You've written that sounds more scarier than the GDPR.
Yeah, that's right. So Krishna, coming to you, and after that we'll do a time check. This is interesting. So, I mean, how do you create a kind of framework of competency framework or AI competency framework, so to say? I mean, in my view, the transformation that we are facing with AI is that when I got into IT, it was word processors. I mean, Word was still not there. MS Word and MS Excel were still not there. I started with those black screen Lotus Notes, Excel sheets, not Excel sheets, sorry, spreadsheets, right? So then it became a world that for anybody and everybody to operate, you need to understand. I mean, you need to be proficient in MS Office, Word, Excel, whatever. So AI is kind of getting into that zone that for anybody to operate proficiently, you need to understand AI and apply AI. So how do you create within HR, how do you create a competency framework, maybe of 2-3 levels?
I think it's actually no different from what we would have done with any technology in the past, right? I'm sure, even when there was Microsoft Office that were extensively used and people properly were using calculators and tables, they must be using at some point of time.
Yeah.
When Excel came in, you could always do crazy amount of computation on Excel as compared to what we were doing in the past, right? There was always a capability that needed to be built. So what did we do probably? We would have started with, okay, I used to probably look at attrition data on my tables. Let's actually start using an Excel for it. Then you realize that, okay, how could I calculate that using Excel? How could I probably show and depict so many cuts on attrition using Excel in a faster way, right? And we would never present it to the management unless we were confident of how that Excel would do. So in my building competency in HR around AI, I would say there is a competency required for being open, competency that is required for being experimentative using AI, competency for showing proof of concepts, competency for therefore increasing adoption. Right? And I'm saying that skill is no different from using or scaling up any technology that you would have done in the past. Right? If I literally look at what are you asking me to do in HR, AI, you're not asking me any different from what you've asked me to do when SAP got introduced. You're not telling me any different than what you've told me to do when Excel got introduced. So
or ATS.
Anything, right? So it's the same fundamental behavior change that probably we are driving if you want these competencies. And that's at least one way of thinking that I have in building the competency for the organization. Correct. I also want to just probably take this point around the conversations that we had on talent acquisition and how we can use that for, actually one huge help that I'm seeing AI deliver on the process part on both performance is to nudge me if the quality of the conversation is good.
Yeah,
right.
That can be helpful.
I've done 360 surveys and BEIs across countries, right? And it takes a lot for us to know whether that the script that is given to me written by the individual has biases involved in it, right? It's very humanly difficult for me with limited experience of working in 3 countries to tell how somebody from Central America has a bias in them when they have written the script. I can't. My limited human experience cannot. But I think that's where AI can literally bridge that gap. Yes. And if we can embed that capability in the process of the operation happening, then it is a kick-ass outcome really for me. It's not after the BA script comes to me, but when the BA is happening, right? If you can nudge the SSF or the performance management manager to be able to have a better question, I think it will be a superlative outcome. Like I've
co-pilot sitting with you,
right? I've done so many, I've got so many assessors in my talent pools. I look at the BEI script that they give to me, the interview script, and I look at the actual bars in my competencies. And I look at, have you asked enough questions to capture response for each bar? I can give it in writing that they don't ask. Okay. And you're constrained by the 60-minute BEI that you're forced to do to complete all BEIs on time. In 60 minutes is not sufficient to get the experience of last 5-6 years of each individual on every bar. Correct. It's left to the quality of question that you can ask in such a limited amount of time that determines the outcome of the individual. Absolutely. That's where companions really can accelerate the quality of time that you spend on the candidate.
The quality will also depend on what you're looking for, right? And every company will have their own benchmarks as to this is good, the definition of this is good, and this is excellent, this is moderate, etc., etc. And every company is going to be different. And then at this moment, the kind of we get from general AI like ChatGPTs or models behind those ChatGPTs, they lose that. They don't have that context, right? The organizational context or your individual context or your departmental context or context of that job specifically. So if you ask a general question, I mean, you try to find out bias using an application that is using one of those models, you will not get the right answers. So let's say, for instance, we also have assessment platforms. I mean, technically, those are great, but are you going to get high quality candidate comparisons from that platform? No, because those platforms are as good as the models behind them, right? The outcomes that you as an individual human being will be able to decide, arrive at, are going to be completely different than the AI generated output. AI generated is going to be very, very moderated, diplomatic, and that's going to take out the essence of what you are looking for.
See, one thing that absolutely true. I mean, the way we look at AI is, see, an airplane and a bird, both of them can fly.
Yeah.
But both of them are different, right? But there are certain functionalities that the airplane has, which it trumps the bird solid. So if you actually start to give AI that particular domain expertise,
Correct.
right? Where there's a concept called forward deployed engineering, which is basically Palantir, how they're thinking about it and how they bring it.
Yeah.
If you want to bring that enterprise level contextualization into it,
Yes.
I can tell you it'll beat a human any day.
Yes. So that is ideal, but that's going to require a huge amount of maturity from the organization's point of view in terms of what data you are capturing and how, with what goal,
Absolutely.
right? So it's not that you start capturing some data from today. It also is,
Yeah.
what are you going to do with it? Where are you capturing that
Yeah.
quality, and how is it tying back to the culture fit of your organization?
Absolutely.
Right. So if you determine the goals first and the data capture mechanisms, and then put AI onto it, I mean, AI is an easy bit.
Absolutely.
Then we are going to be successful. I mean, ChatGPT is generic. I mean, it's. I mean, we have apps using ChatGPT models and all. I mean, this level of interpretation it cannot give at this moment. Right. Shall I do a time check?
Yeah.
How are we doing?
51.
Do we have
hard stop at 4?
4?
I'm sorry, but yeah.
All right. No, that's fine. Then let's get to a possibly a rapid fire question for all of you. So, I mean, let me see. So I've got 2 rapid fire questions and both are attractive. So I'll pick just one. Right. So maybe take a simple one. So 2 years from now, what HR workflow will look like? What HR workflow will look unrecognizable because of AI, and what will still be stubbornly human? So we had some pointers during the discussions, but still, your opinion. Quickly. Let's start with you.
2 years from now, I foresee that lots will be changed in the way that we are hiring, recruiting more. We're already trying to gabble our hands with multiple pieces, and we understand as HR leaders as to what all we have to dodge and look around. But yeah, 2 years, I think we will evolve to a level where it will be much more tougher for us to ensure there is a human loop at every step. And that's going to be a part that we all have to evolve and grow. And what was the second part, is it?
What will still remain
What will still
human?
remain human? Empathy. I think empathy, and we were reading, I'm sure we all are reading, that if the AI model can get in, built in the empathy part, which I think it's building now. I was reading it somewhere that if somebody says, "Hey, how are you doing?" To say, "Hey, what happened? How are you doing?" So the tone of the way that you're asking a question, the AI is going to respond that, "Hey, are you feeling okay? Has something happened?" Or you say that, or you just reply. So that can happen, I don't know whenever, but it's still building in. But I think the empathy and the human loop is what I think we all agreed will not go away. Will not go away, and that needs to be intact with the culture as an organization that we want to build in.
Yeah, and I heard of some Japanese personal companion toys, which actually does that. Yeah.
Keeps you company.
What's your opinion? Same question.
So,
Yes.
same,
Yeah.
okay. I think it'll be very different. I think yeah, I almost look at it with 2 work streams. One is the human part of it, the decision making.
Yeah.
And I think decision making will become faster. You'll
Much
be able
faster.
to take a lot more decisions with data, data-driven decisions, and not kind of following your gut or your instinct. Now we'll have dashboards, you'll have, whether it's the right data, wrong data, we can all argue, and it'll get better. So I think from that perspective, the strategic part of it, the human in the loop will still exist. But you'll be able, as a human, you'll be able to scale. I think instead of doing this much of work, now we can do this much of work. And that has other repercussions of it. The other work stream I see is in terms of transactions, repetitive work, etc. Those will not go away, they'll reduce. because the need for those transactions goes away.
Mhm.
If you take simple queries, we started off that, today. If there's good access to that data for the person asking the query, they don't need to ask you the query. They can get it instantaneous 24/7 with, not even just a mobile phone. They can tap, a language in a prompt, and it can answer based within the safeguards. If it's a company ecosystem, it can be within the company. If it's generic, it can be outside. So knowledge is going to become kind of uniform. So a lot of that will change the way we work. So today, 2 years back, we were probably spending 50% on transactions and from a HR perspective, and maybe less than 50% on more strategic work. That's slowly pivoting, and it'll continue to pivot. I think in the next 12, 18, 4 months. And that will allow us to do different things. So the current construct of an organization and how support from a HR perspective in 2 years will change. And just because of all the tools that you now get. And if you just look at a simple measure, cost of HR to revenue, number of HR to total number of employees, over the just two very standard measures. Of course, there's an industry bias, manufacturing, non-manufacturing, services, etc. But they're all moving in one direction. And if you look at it, 2 years ago, services industry, we were about 1:50, 1:75. Today, benchmark is somewhere close to 1:250, 1:300. If you look at recruiters to hires, again, that's another, very normal measure, but that's also moving in one direction. Now, we can all argue, are they giving good results or not? But again, I see that trend continuing.
Correct.
Any question? I think whether we like it or not, we will see, like what he's saying, we will see fewer people needing to do the same volume of tasks. Because, right? So we might say whether it's good, bad, ugly, etc. We will eventually be asked to pick up an operating state where we'll do the work with fewer number of people. I can see that happening in many organizations, to say that with the AI workflows, then how do you think is going to be the projection of the same workforce? And then you're telling leaders to say that, okay, now the 3-year plan is to work with this quantity of people, etc. Right? Now, the question that, however, I don't know is whether you want to look at it as a redundancy question or an investment question. Which is to say that, how do I operate with 20% lesser workforce? Or if I had those 20% managers, what would I do differently to create value for my customers? Right? Because if you are going to only operate as, how do I operate therefore with only 75% workforce? Then probably I'm making my organization work more like a machine. And I'm not tapping into the human potential of those remaining 20% people. So I think it is inevitable that we will move towards, like we're already talking about diamond-shaped organization structures, where it's no more pyramid, right? The pyramid is done by AI and automation, etc. And you'll have probably managers who are going to take decisions on that. So in this continuum of, a skill, a task, a job, and work, the skill and the task will be driven more by AI. It can learn, it can do better, etc. But how do I use the task to deliver an outcome? Involves decisioning, involves discretion, involves prioritization, involves feeling, preference. That's where I'll differentiate a task and a skill by work and jobs that we do, right? I think that part will remain. And people who take decisions on that will not feel the heat of it. But if the job is largely skill and task dependent, then you will feel the heat of it more and more.
Absolutely.
But then probably the only thought that I have is like, when I read about AI initially, I was told that these are machines that act like humans. But the more I read about it, I'm getting the feeling that I'm acting more like a machine. Right?
Will be acting more.
So I hope that we'll have AI which will act like a human, and not humans act like machines. Right? And that's the hope that
That's a good line. Yeah.
And in this transitioning phase, the folks who are going to be most affected are the students who are in the in their engineering right now. So like my son is in the third year, and I've told him about a year back that the world that was when you started your engineering and the world that is going to look like when you go out to a job is going to be completely different. You are targeting to get skilled in this language and that technology and this technology.
Yeah, true.
Thinking that you are going to code, but no, that's going to be completely different.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, please.
I think the one thing that will definitely not remain is the name HR. I would be surprised if 3-4 years down the line it's still called human resources, because I think we would be expected to manage humans and machines.
Yes.
Right. We would do performance management for human and machine, and the difference would be machine performance management would be, do I continue to invest in that machine or not? Right? Will I add more money to that or not? Right? Or will I stop my money to it? And humans in the other way, right? So that is one thing. What I think will still remain is smart HR people will continue to remain where they are.
Smart, yeah.
Yeah. So if you aren't smart,
Then
then there's a problem. So to still have humans, very few humans. I also believe that titles in HR will change dramatically. You'll have architects, ethics,
correct.
right? It's going to look very different. There'll be a lot of technocrats with people who have basically learned maybe a little difference of science in terms of people plus machines plus things who are going to reside in the HR, not typically MBA HR people.
The titles will be very
The titles will be very different, right? So those are things that I think I would say.
Yeah. So the other folks who are going to be quite affected and they should start getting skilled right now is that MBA folks. Because like you said, that you'll be managing not only human beings, but also machines. So we come to hear that, okay, so there are going to be a bunch of human workers and there's going to be a bunch of agent workers.
Yeah.
So you'll be managing agents as well as human beings.
Yeah.
Right.
And imagine the plight of a manager, because the manager's resources are not just humans now, but even the amount of GPUs or TPUs that you'll be putting in, right? So which is very different.
How soon do you accept this and start rebuilding and rebranding and reskilling yourself?
Absolutely.
Is what the journey is for everybody.
Yes.
If for the youngsters, of course, who are joining us from campuses, or the managers, like you said.
I think the youngsters are very curious.
Very, very.
But I've seen very hard-written amongst those 20 years in a company. I hope none of us are like that, but 15 years in a company, it's like very rigid about these things. They're like, nee. These are all there, let's wait.
That's the scary part, yeah.
The challenge as a business is we have 3 or 4 generations of workers.
Absolutely.
They all have different views, different experiences. I have, even in my own house, I have 2 girls. One is just graduated, one is still. They learn very different.
Absolutely.
They act very differently. They are much more transparent in what they do. And if I look at their attributes and probably my generation or the generation before, we are probably scared of where they're going. But for them, it's normal. So if you looked at that from a business perspective, how do you run and manage a business which has 3 or 4 generations of workers? And now you're going to have a digital generation of workers too. So I think that's where the challenge in 2 years, if you look at it, that's where the challenge is going to be.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are not going to make it. I think that's the other piece. We have to come to terms with for different reasons. They're not going to make it because it will be a very competitive world and it will change. The efficiencies come in. Who's the first person to go out? Those kind of decisions will have to be made between now. I think and by the way, this is not a doomsday conversation. It's a pivot, right? It's a pivot that's going to happen. I think.
Thank you for that plug.
I've just seen the empathy going down. But at the same time, I think it's allowing us to do something else. If you look at it from an HR perspective, you heard 2-3 things. productivity is improving. We need less people to do what we're doing. We can do more work. That means there is time getting freed up of the folks that we have, or folks getting freed up. They're not bad people. They can be used for something else. Now, we don't know what that something else is, and that's why it creates all this, the environment. But I think that's the opportunity. So, when you start looking at it, you're going to be, and I think one of you said that, and I want to emphasize, we can help our businesses grow. So if you're increasing productivity and efficiency, you're freeing up a manager to go sell more. If you're increasing revenue, that's a good thing. And you're decreasing cost, that's also a good thing. So I think there's a lot of opportunity that we need to tap, but it's going to look very different. Your ratios are going to look different. The way you approach work is going to look different.
The definitions will change.
And that changes. Whoever imbibes that fast is going to succeed faster. And I think that's the caution that we have, that you don't have a choice. This is the same thing when computers came in, same thing when Excel came in, and now this is the next wave.
And I have an optimistic way of looking at it, because through all phases of industrialization, ultimately we have seen growth, right? So there is skill recalibrations. When spreadsheets came in, word processing softwares came in, there was a recalibration. Now also there is a recalibration. When data science and all came in, there was a recalibration. SaaS came in, there was a bit of recalibration. So all phases, So yes, so we will close the panel discussion here. So Chitra, would you do
sure.
a little vote of thanks?
So thank you so much for the time that you have spent here. And I remember, in the beginning when we were as part of the HR Expert Committee, we were wondering what is the topic that we should bring in that makes sense in today's world, both in IT and HR. And I think this topic that we had in mind and it came forward was what we did today. And I would say for me also, it was an eye opener in terms of some of the context that you brought in. I come from a typical manufacturing industry where labor is still a labor intensive industry, human intensive industry. But even in a labor intensive industry like ours, in the manufacturing side, we see that AI or robotics is really taking over. Yes, some time back, we had actual welders doing the welding in the shop floor. And today we have robots which are doing the welding in the shop floor. We just need somebody who puts the code there and then the welding happens. So a very perspective, but we also have IT in which is our shared services, and Deepu leads that. So we have at least I get a little bit of that perspective as well. But a lot of concepts which you spoke about was very, very relevant. And I'm glad you said that it is not a doomsday conversation.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Because I'm feeling a little worried because I still have a young son who is doing law, and I also hear that AI is going to take over law and all that. And as you said, you spoke about yours and you start worrying about your children. So thank you so much for that. But without a lot of time, I'm sure that all the participants here had a lot of information that we don't have in the past. And thank you.
Little bit of photo.
Thank you, Chitra.
About the workforce. Okay. Please. It also, please. Okay. So, please. That's right.
Yeah.
So much, Amy. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah. You. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, yes. I thought you want to say that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks to all the participants. Before
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
conclude the session, I just have tomorrow, under the aegis of our banking and finance committee, we are organizing workshop on wealth management at Hotel Chancery Pavilion. And we have lined up very good speakers, and I would request you or your team members to kindly join for the sessions. It's tomorrow morning. We'll be sharing the invitation by end of the day, and I request you to kindly make it convenient. And finally, thanks to all the participants for making it convenient to be here and be part of this exclusive and exhaustive discussion. Thank you very much once again, and I
We have a
look forward to
small
your
part.
support.
We have a small part still left.
Oh, sorry. I've seen this.
That's fine.
But before they leave, they can have snacks. But sorry, I'm extremely sorry.
That's okay. A word of thanks because they had to leave.
Please continue.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, extremely sorry. I thought.
It's okay.
I'll just come back.
Yeah, sure.
Will you do a session? It's going to be a break right now.
No, we'll have probably 20-30 minutes max, and then we'll. Wait. So, thank you everyone for listening so intently to the panel discussions. So, as a second part of the today's event, we'll have a little talk about what are AI agents. Now, I'll share my screen actually. Logged in? No, I'm not logged in. So we spoke a lot about AI agents, and we'll probably try to take a glimpse of what AI agents look like. Now, one disclaimer is that AI agent is actually one of the most misused term in the AI world today. Now, there are many definitions. Sorry, how do I
mute yours?
Oh, just mute it.
okay. Thank you. All right. So literally, I mean, I'm in the AI field for some time, and I see every day there is a new definition by a new organization or a group of people. Especially when you look at different AI products, you will see different definition. Let's say, for instance, AWS uses a definition. Azure would use a similar definition, but let's say somebody is selling a AI enabled product will use a different definition, or a layperson who is running AI agents, or maybe a developer using a different definition for AI agents. Even as a AI practitioner, I get confused sometimes what actually is. I mean, when I started learning AI agents, I learned some definition, and when you learn something for the first time, it kind of sinks in your head and as a truth, right? So that's psychological. So I kind of try to stick to that, but a lot of when I see the other definitions, a lot of that doesn't fit in, right? So now I'm logged in. I will share. Okay. I'll probably try to give an example just to make it quick. So one of the popular definitions of AI agents is really something that has agency. Agency in English term is called control. I mean, that's not a Indian meaning of agency. I mean, in India, we understand something else when
Third party.
use the word, yeah, third party. But agency in English terms is really control. So something that has control. Now, normally traditional software doesn't have control, right? It is written in a way that there are rules embedded within traditional software. There are fixed format data that traditional software can process, and that's about it. You have laid a track for that software to behave in a certain way, and it will behave always in that certain way. Whereas the difference in agents is that it has agency in terms of it has some capabilities. So one is it has capabilities. Capabilities mean it can perform certain tasks. Now, the way it can perform those tasks is not laid like a railway track like traditional software. It is able to perform, the agent with those capabilities are able to perform those tasks based on the situation that is presented to itself, right? If an agent is able to perform 5 tasks, you can, let's say, for instance, as part of a chatbot, you can ask different questions, or you can ask it to perform different tasks, and based on its capability, if it is within its capabilities, if it has the wherewithals or what we technically call tools, then it can perform the task. It can decide what tool or tools to use, and it can go ahead in an autonomous manner rather than in a rule-based manner to perform that. That's kind of a theoretical definition, and that's one of the most popular definitions in the world. Now, when I go to AWS and try to figure out how to create AWS Amazon agents, it's a completely different thing. It's a very simplistic version of this, very, very simplistic version of this, which kind of doesn't tie in with my initial learning of what are AI agents. All right, so in HR perspective, we'll take one example. So let's say, for instance, we are talking about, and we have spoken about recruitment today. So if we take the use case of recruitment, and more specifically, the case of candidate evaluation. So you've got so you are hiring for, let's say, a position. You will, as in India, commensurate to the population, we will have hundreds of applications. For one position, every position, you will have hundreds of applications. So one of the things that companies are trying to do is to see if interview agents can actually ease the frontline job, I mean, the first level job, right? So you have one round of interviewing in a digital manner, and then bring down, let's say 300 applications to 50 applications, and you deal with those 50 rather than all 300 of them, because that's going to be very, very effort intensive, and it's going to be very costly. So how we do it is probably you build an agent which is going to create a base set of questions. You provide the JD to the agent, and the agent is able to create a base set of questions for that particular position, right? Irrespective of the candidate. Okay, so first level is base set of questions are created irrespective of the candidate. That's step 1. You have got an interview agent ready, and then you trigger that agent to, let's say, 300 candidates, right? Now this interview agent is able to create questions, right? So that is one tool, one capability. It has done that. Second level, it is able to take interviews, right? So you trigger it, it is going to go to the candidates. Going to the candidate is nothing. It doesn't physically go to the candidate. You literally have candidates literally have a link like any assessment software. So candidates have a link, and then this agent, rather than a typical SaaS software, evaluation software, the agent is taking the interview. Now, the beauty of the interview agent, which is AI based, is going to be on the fly. It will be, on the fly, the agent will be able to determine the answer, the correctness, accuracy of the answer given by the candidate, whether it is correct, the level of the answer, whether it is the answer is kind of at a very high level, superficial level, or very in depth, and etc. Based on that, so basically judging the competency level of the interviewee, and then based on that, it will also decide, okay, what is going to be the next question that I can ask? Whether should I bring down the complexity of the question because this person does not look like a very competent, experienced person from the answer, the previous answer that this person has given, and also based on the nature of the answer, is it beneficial to ask a couple of follow-up questions to probe deeper? So it can take, it has to be built to do that. So those are the capabilities that we have to build in. That is technology, but we are not getting into that. So all these capabilities are given to the agent using AI. At this moment, we use the kind of models that are used by ChatGPTs and all. So we have ChatGPT, we have Gemini, we have Perplexity, and all those things. And applications that are getting developed at this moment by various application providers, let's say assessment service, such an interview agent provider. We also have as a company, we also develop this kind of agents. We have an agent. Now we use the LLMs which are given by ChatGPT and etc. It is going to get more and more mature, as we have heard in the panel discussion also, that can I capture emotions? Can I capture the essence, etc.? And that is going to take some time, because then organizationally you have to set in that with that goal that we are going to achieve such kind of level of authenticity in the interviews. And for this, we need to capture the data and what is the mechanism of capturing the data, and how do we process that data? How do we what insight do we derive from the data, etc. So that's taking it to the next level or to the higher level. So we are not at this. I don't know of any assessment software which has kind of attained that kind of level, but we will get there, right? So there's one example of how an interview agent can behave. And also, so it takes the position detail into context. It takes the candidate in context. It takes the answers given by the question in context, and it takes the maybe additional instructions given by the recruiter or by the hiring manager to it while designing the agent into context. So all these things are context. Capabilities are your initial set question set, then on the fly developing questions to ask the next follow-up question to the candidate, etc., etc. Right. So we are at a basic level. We will see the world getting more mature in terms of designing of agents, which will then get us to a point where our interview agents will actually behave like human beings. Like on the fly, you are continuously assessing the candidate's capability from the answers, from the facial expression, from the body language expressions, etc., emotions, stories, and so on. It should get to that level, but we are pretty far away from that stage at this moment. Other examples can be performance management, continuous performance management. So again, main thing that is going to be part of a successful agent is going to be the data capture, the data that we are capturing. So if it is a continuous process, then we create those organizational mechanisms to capture performance data. Now that can have that can be from different ways, not only manager information, the kind of trainings that this person is taking, the kind of projects this person is working on, the performance data, managers information, additional initiatives that this person is taking, and so on and so forth. So all these are feeding into a centralized AI-driven agentic performance management system. And then it's creating benchmarks and maybe additional information, enrichment information is also passed on by HR as to what are the benchmark based on which, what kind of decision you are going to take, right? So these are some of the examples of how an agent may look like. So it has, so essentially, theoretically, agent will be able to perform certain tasks, and agent will have control and somewhat autonomous to decide based on different situation as to what task to perform and get to the final goal. Right. So I'll stop the theory part here. I'll give you a quick demo. Now I have a software which is called, I use a software. I mean, I don't have a software. I use a software called Any10, which normally people use for creating prototypes, right? It's not really a production grade software. It's a prototype building software. If you may have heard about it. Yeah. So it's pretty popular among folks who are kind of playing around with AI.
What is the name?
N8N.
N8.
N8N.
N8N.
8 numeric N. So this is an agent. It's not a fully autonomous agent, but it's an agent. It can do perform a few tasks autonomously. So I'll try to explain first, or rather I'll show you in execution, and then we will explain how it's doing what it's doing. So I'll execute the workflow. So this is basically a workflow. Now I'm going to create a learning plan for a person. Okay, this is one of the useful cases. Now this is a very crude one, a very simple one, quickly done. I mean, I literally built it in a couple of hours starting from yesterday. Now I have a data file over here. This is my data file. This is an employee profile. Okay. It has details of what this person does right now, current role, technical skills, soft skills levels, etc. The career objective. So if we are creating a learning plan, then I need to know for what I'm creating that learning plan. Is it a career move by this person, or is it a promotion that the organization is planning for, or an elevated role that the organization is planning for this person? So that's the objective. So this is a why, and the identified focus area. So aligned with the career objective, what are going to be the identified focus areas? So this person goes on to from a team lead level, so DevOps, sorry, team lead level, to a service manager level. Okay. So that's the career move, and these are the set of skills that this person should acquire to get to the next level, to the service management level. Now, if I try to upload that employee profile and I'll fire the workflow, then I'll explain to you as to how it does what it does. You can see that visually. I mean, it's the beauty of this that you can visually see various components and what they are doing. Normally, it's very brittle, so my fingers are crossed. It shouldn't break anywhere in between. It's super, so good.
Halfway done.
Yeah, halfway done. Yeah, I know the breakpoints. If it passes the next one, I'm pretty much sure. Yeah, okay. So I'm pretty much sure it's going to finish successfully. There are external calls that it is making, and I'm using free APIs, and there are some credit limits. So if it goes beyond the credit limit, then it's going to break. Good. So it's basically creating a learning plan for this person. Okay. All right, so this is our learning plan that it has created and displayed. So let's look at that. So here's your learning plan 30, 60, 90 day. So this is the 30-day learning plan, objectives, understand ITIL foundations, gaining awareness here, activities, watch and learn, ITIL explained in 10 minutes by performance. So it's referring to a couple of YouTube videos because I have that built in within it, within the agent. 60 days, it is listing out some activities for the role elevation. So there's a 60-day plan and your 90-day plan. So it's pretty detailed in terms of what it has produced. Is it the best one? It is not, because it's just a prototype, crude prototype that I've kind of cooked up in a couple of hours. But you can see that starting from a profile, given a career goal and with some description of what skills to acquire, you can create agents which can create personalized learning plans. So now this is for one person. If you get to the enterprise level, you built in this functionality and scale it to a few thousand employees. And then you also bring in context. So what is the context that I have provided? I've said that, okay, this is the profile. So I've given some input data. The other context that it has taken in is it has gone to the internet and it has matched the skills that are required to go to that next level. And it has pulled in information resources. So the list that you have seen, those are explicit resources that it has pulled from the internet. So this is what it is doing. So if you now look visually, so the first step is extracting the, so which is, it's very small. So the first step is extracting the profile information, which is happening here. It does some formatting because internally the technology needs to, it needs the data in a formatted manner. Then I have a AI agent, which is performing a skill gap analysis from the profile data. Then it is formatting that portion. Then it is making an external call to pull all kind of possible YouTube videos from the internet. So the YouTube videos that it was referring to, it is coming from there. Format YouTube meta information. Then it's pulling in other kind of learning information, learning resources from the internet, which is happening over here. Formatting that, and then finally it is compiling the learning plan. It's displaying over here. Very simple, a very simple demonstration of how you can actually create a small one. Now then you enrich this by more external information, kind of, you can connect it to the kind of learning resources that you want. Let's say, for instance, you have an organizational account of Udemy or Coursera, right? Now, this guy is pulling information from YouTube or the internet, PDFs, blogs, and etc. But if you have a if you have a Udemy subscription for your enterprise or a Coursera subscription for your enterprise, they will also give you the gateways, the APIs to connect to them. So with this information, you use the same mechanism to drill into Udemy or Coursera and pull information from there. So you have the skill information, skill gap information, which it is determining. Then you hit the Udemy or Coursera repository and pull in information from there. Okay, so for this skill acquisition, these are the kind of resources you have, right? Now then you can build more on this agent and kind of make it a continuous process. That okay, boss, you have given the learning plan, now you track it. So there is going to be a learning tracker agent, so and so forth. So there's something that I just wanted to give a quick demo as to this is how AI agents work. And this is a small example. You can extrapolate scale to organization level. Right? That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is good. Right. Okay, so with that, we will close today's session. Group photo. Okay, we will have a group photo. I will detach one here.